Welcome! I'm Jen Satalino from the College Place, Oregon, and it's April 2023. We're going to talk about college options, start planning now, and this workshop is aimed for students who are in the class of 2024, so current juniors about to be seniors. However, if you're a younger student or the parent of a younger student, there's still going to be some very good information for you here in this webinar, so I encourage you to stick around. We're going to cover a lot of information, so here's our agenda. We'll talk about the different options after high school. We'll talk about how you as a student can do some research to figure out which of those options are the best fit for you. We'll discuss your activities, and these are going to make a difference when you're applying to colleges, programs, or scholarships. We'll talk about what you can do this summer, so the summer of 2023, to help get you ready to go when fall starts. We'll talk about financial aid and what you can do now to be prepared. We'll talk about getting input from the family. And then we'll talk about next steps, and I'll have some options for you there. All right, so this is really important for us to take some time to go through. Students have a number of different options after high school. We're going to go through them. First up is the option to just work after high school. This allows you to find a job and to gain or enhance many of your skills. When working, you're going to increase your time management. You're going to be on time to work, hopefully. You'll learn about teamwork, which is working with a group of colleagues towards a common goal. You'll learn to become a better communicator, talking with customers, talking with managers, talking with directors. Or you could do an internship, which is like work, but sometimes you don't get paid for it. But an internship allows you to do the work while learning to do the job and obtaining career skills, as well as all of the benefits we talked about with a job. Next, college. And so college is education after high school, or what we sometimes call higher education. We've got, two options here. Students can, start at a 2-year or community college, and this allows you to get an associate degree or a certification at a very reasonable cost. Here in Oregon, if you qualify for the Oregon Promise, often that's just a negligible cost. So community colleges are a wonderful option. We're also have the option of going right from high school into a 4-year college or university. And so this gives you access to earning a bachelor's degree, access to becoming a researcher, some workforce ready options, and some community or continuing education options. So either 2-year public or 4-year public or private colleges are a great way to start right after high school. Next, I mentioned certificates under our college button, but just to explain, a certificate is a short-term education program, and they can range from 3 months to about 2 years. What a certificate does is it gives you a career education in a field that's currently highly in demand. So examples of this might be healthcare certificates. They might be computer science certificates. It might be a certificate to become a personal trainer or a lab assistant. The nice thing with certificates, especially if you undertake the certification process at a 2-year college or community college, is that you can often stack your credentials, which means that you could start with the easiest certificate. Maybe that's 6 weeks or 3 months. And then once you have that, you can do additional training on top of that. And that additional certification, because you've already learned things in your first certificate, maybe won't take quite as long. So stackable credentials, stackable certificates, these are a really great way to get your foot in the door for a wonderful career. Now, often when we think about higher education, we think of just that traditional 2 or 4-year college. But apprenticeships are a fantastic way to get education after high school. That leads to a family wage job. What happens is that you will work your way from being an apprentice to what we call a journeyman, and you will increase your salary along the way. And your salary will be usually a percentage of whatever a journeyman is earning. The thing with apprenticeship programs, they're a really smart way to go. Often, especially in the Portland metro area, there might be a wait list to get into a specific apprenticeship program. So what I recommend is that if you're at all thinking about a career in the trades or a career where you do require an apprenticeship, is to get signed up for that as quickly as you can, and then you'll have some time. And then what you could do at that point is use your Oregon Promise, go to your local, two-year community college, and earn some credits, but earn some really basic skills. It could be something as easy as, taking that communications or speech class. It could be, taking writing 121, 122. It could be a lot of different things. There are a lot of courses at the community colleges that will really enhance you as a professional. If you're interested in learning more about apprenticeships, you can go to www.dol, which stands for Department of Labor, .gov/general/topic/training/apprenticeship. It's got to be like the longest URL ever. And lastly, service. Now there's a lot of types of service. There's many different ways to serve. We often immediately think of the military. So the U.S. Armed Forces, these are really wonderful opportunities. You get paid, you get benefits, you're able to save money, and you have a little bit of choice in what you will do or where you'll be stationed. But one of the best things about joining the military and serving is that then once you leave, you will have what we call GI education benefits. You'll be eligible for payment to help you at a community college or a four-year college or both from the VA, the Veterans Administration. So if you already have a bachelor's degree, so another way to do this, if you go and you earn your bachelor's degree and then you still wish to serve, you can enter the armed forces as an officer. Now another way to do this is through AmeriCorps. With AmeriCorps, you can serve directly with nonprofit organizations here in Oregon or across the country. You don't have to stay here, but you're going to help us tackle our nation's most pressing challenges. This might be food or housing insecurity. It might be access to health care. It might be encouraging students to go on to complete their education after high school. Whatever your passion is, whether it's working with people, working with the environment, working with things, there is most likely an AmeriCorps position that would be a really good fit for you. Once you finish with AmeriCorps, so while you're serving, you get a stipend, and then when you're done, you'll get an education, they call it an education award, and that is essentially like a coupon, not quite the same thing as we used to cut out from the paper, but you can use that to pay for education after high school, or you can use it to pay off student loans that maybe you've already taken prior to joining AmeriCorps. So between the military and AmeriCorps, we've got some very good options. And I just wanted to give you this slide so you can kind of see everything all at the same time. So we've got 5 different options we're looking at for you after high school. All right, now what we're going to need you to do though is to research some of those options and figure out which ones are going to be a good fit for you. So the first thing I want you to do is to start attending those college and career fairs. I know that we're back to in-person fairs, both college fairs and career fairs and combined fairs, but there are also a lot of college and career fairs that take place in a virtual environment. So if you're in a smaller community and maybe your high school doesn't have their own college or career fair, you can find them online and get some really, really good information. Ask a lot of questions if you're in person. If you're virtual, make sure you get the contact information where you can ask if you have more questions. If you're, for example, interested in becoming an electrician, you know, they've got several different pathways to becoming several different types of electricians. So you want to make sure that you've done the research through your career fairs and figure out which one is the best for you. All right. I also want you to take, and this says campus tours, it could be facility tours, but if you are looking at a specific college or colleges or universities, I do want you to tour. The best way to do this is in person. That is not always possible, especially if you are looking at colleges or universities that are outside of your current area. So you can also go online, and often, especially since COVID, a lot of campuses do have online tours. The other thing I might encourage you to do is to look on YouTube or TikTok and just look for videos from current students themselves. Maybe a day in the life of, or, this is what's going on my campus. Sometimes those informal videos can give you a lot more insight into what campus culture is. If you do want to visit places and you're not really sure where to start, I would just recommend touring the college campus that's closest to you, whether it's your local community college, whether you live in the same town as one of our four-year public universities, or maybe you live right next door to Reed College. But just take a tour, even if you're not interested in that particular college or university. That'll give you some idea of what a campus tour feels like, and it'll give you a baseline to compare other tours. All right. If you've identified a career already, whether it's one of the trades, whether it's something else, I've been reading scholarship applications this week. I have students that want to be midwives and professional musicians and attorneys, all sorts of things. See if you can arrange a job shadow. Ideally, it would be in your own community, so you could work with the staff at your high school to help you set this up. If that is not an option for you, let me know. You'll have my contact information and I can help make this happen for you. But really, spend the day. If you can't spend a whole day, you spend half a day. If you can't do half a day, just do an informational interview with somebody who's doing the job you think that you want. Ask them the questions. Make sure that any assumptions you have are actually accurate assumptions, and really see if you can kind of try that job on for size. All right, this is one of my favorites. It really helps if you know yourself well. So if you're thinking that you're going to become, I'm just going to, for laughs here, say you're like, I want to become a motivational speaker. If you have stage fright and perhaps some social anxiety, maybe that is not a good fit for you. It might be that you have strengths in a different area. So what we really hope that you can do is to do an assessment, either a personality assessment or a skills assessment, to help you really understand what makes you tick. And so I have an assessment here for you, and this one's free of charge. Please don't share the code because every time you access this and create an account, I do get charged. But this is through an organization called Vita Navis. We'll go through, and what we're going to do, you'll take this assessment, and it'll give you information about something called your RIASEC or Holland codes. And there's 6 different continuums that you are that every person is somewhere along the continuum. And then based on the information that you provide, we can say, hey, I think these are where your skills lie, and then give you some suggestions for careers that make sense with those strengths and skills and interests. So if you've got any questions about this, just go ahead, make an account, play with it a little bit, and then you can contact me and we can discuss your results and see what makes sense given the type of person that you are and what your values and interests are. All right, lastly, we're going to talk about creating a resume. And I'm using resume kind of loosely here. Traditionally, a resume has been something that you put together when you're applying for a job, but I also want you to think about creating an application resume or a scholarship resume. If you're going up for that, apprenticeship, you're going to have to fill in an application. So what we want to do is to get all of your information in one place. So we're going to start with your activities. What is it that you do? Are you in any clubs? Do you I'm trying to think, just reading some of the applications this week. I have students that have done board game clubs or esports or ballroom dancing. So there's a lot of different activities that maybe you're a part of, maybe you're a leader in one, or maybe you've founded. Sports are always fantastic. If you are a sporty person, or at least a little bit more coordinated than I am, you don't have to be the best athlete around to really benefit from participating in sports. You're learning a lot of different things about yourself. You're learning about teamwork. You're learning about passion. You're learning about, sticking with it to the end. And so even the types of sports that you participate in can tell us a lot about not just where you're a talented athlete, but sometimes, who you are as a person as well. So make sure that you're listing your sports, both your competitive sports, your recreational sports, things you do just for fun. You don't have to be, again, the next phenom to have a sport make a difference for you. Now here in Oregon, we have a lot of scholarships in particular that really look for students who volunteer or do community service. So if you have been doing this either on an informal basis, so say your next door neighbor isn't able to clear snow or get to their mailbox every day or get out to the store easily and you're helping them with basic errands like that, that counts as volunteer work just as much as being a small piece in a really large volunteer organization. So anytime that you're giving of yourself to benefit others, we want to know about that. We want to know if it's one time. We want to know if it's ongoing. We want to know if you're just doing one thing because you've been told. And we want to know if you're, in a leadership capacity. But especially here in Oregon, in our state, volunteer work and community service tends to be really important. If you haven't already been volunteering, if you haven't already been participating in community service, this would be a really good time to think about what you value and what excites you, and perhaps find something that fits for you. All right. Sometimes I'm working with students and they're like, Jen, this is all great. I have too many responsibilities at home. I don't have time for clubs or sports or volunteer work. I'm, taking care of my younger siblings. I'm working in the family business. Maybe I'm helping my grandparents who might or might not live with me. So sometimes we have responsibilities, family responsibilities, that keep us from doing other things. That doesn't mean that those don't count. It's really important for you to document these, and you can say, you know what? I have a younger sibling and I am responsible for getting them to school in the morning, maybe not getting them home, or helping with homework, or, meal planning, cooking, dishes, cleaning, maintenance, whatever it might be. I want you to list these out for me. So it might be that you're making a list and it's like, well, I clean my room and I take the trash out, which is great. It might be that if those are your only responsibilities, this might not appear on an application. But if you're a student that has significant responsibilities, I want you to know that those count. You don't have to be the president of every club or the captain of every sports team or even participate to show that you have leadership. Sometimes having to take on responsibilities within the family shows that you have leadership as well. And then lastly, if you have a job, if you have a paying job, that's actually something that's a little bit more unusual now than it was when I was in high school. And so we want to know about it. And it might be something you might say, oh, it doesn't really count. It's just a I'm a bus boy. I wash dishes. I work the drive-through at Dairy Queen, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be an absolutely fantastic first professional job, but the fact that you are, working for money, that you're getting there on time, that you're responsible enough to do your job duties, that you've learned that when you get that first paycheck, there's a lot of taxes taken out of it. Those are all things that we want to see. That part of what makes you a well-rounded person. So whatever you've been doing, I want you to take some time and just really document it for me. Tell us, just write it down, the name of the organization, what it is that you do, how many hours a week you do in an average week, when you started participating and maybe when you stopped. And then just kind of tell us a little bit about it. Maybe you're an Adopt One Block volunteer in the Willamette Valley. And so every week you go out for an hour and you pick up trash. So I want to know that. I want you to be able to tell me those things and be able to talk about it. Again, you might not put that level of detail on every application, but it's going to really help at least once in this journey. All right. And again, here they all are together. Now let's talk about summer of 2023. So I've got some options here for you. If you are able to find a job, that's going to be fantastic. You're going to gain some new skills. You'll save some money towards college, and you'll get experience. There's nothing like that first or second or third job, whether it's when I was in middle school, we all went and picked berries. So whether or not it's an agricultural job or a fast food service job, whatever it is, that is a great way to spend your summer vacation. You might also look at getting an internship. So remember we talked about career exploration. An internship is when you're actually getting a chance to learn the job while you're doing it. Sometimes they're paid, sometimes they aren't. But an internship gives you a chance to really try a job on for size. I love, love, love when students volunteer. So volunteering community service, again, that's a really valuable activity here in Oregon when we're looking at scholarships. This gives you a chance to learn some new things, get some new experiences, learn things you didn't know. It also gives you a chance to give back to your community. One thing I really want you to do, though, is to start thinking. Now, this is juniors who are going to be seniors. Start thinking about what colleges and universities you might apply to if that's the route you're going. I'd like you to come up with at least 6. You might come up with a whole heck of a lot more than that, but at the very least, I want you to apply for 3. So somewhere, if we can get a list somewhere between 3 and 10 over the summer. If right now you've got 27 colleges and universities on your list, that's great. We'll try to get those narrowed down before your senior year starts. We want to look at colleges and universities where you know that you will be accepted. So those are our likely schools. We want to look at colleges and universities where it would be a really, really good fit. You think you're pretty much either right on the mark for them, maybe a little bit above average. So we call those match. And then lastly, we have schools that you might be super incredibly qualified for, but they have a highly rejective admissions system. These would be schools like the Ivy League colleges or Stanford University. Sometimes we call those REACH. I sometimes call those lottery schools. These are schools where you're going to put your application in and know that sometimes fewer than 1 in 10 students are actually admitted to the college or university. So I'm not saying that to turn you off, but I'm just saying that you need to have some other options as well. All right, I'm going to have you searching for scholarships this summer, and there are some really early scholarship deadlines, even here in Oregon. So we've got the Beat the Odds Scholarship, we've got the Cameron Impact Fund. So we do have some scholarships with deadlines before you start school in the fall. So what I really, really want you to do is to put some time into a search. Find scholarships where you meet almost all of the criteria, and then get that information together in a spreadsheet so that we know what the name of the scholarship is, when the deadline is, the website that you'll need to apply to. Get that done now, and then once we get into the swing of senior year, when everything's picking up, then you'll realize, oh, I have 3 scholarships due this week. And we will work on your scholarship application portfolio. Don't worry, we'll make this as easy as we can. But spending the time this summer when you have it to do research is going to really pay off for you in the end. All right, this is college essay. We tend to sometimes call these personal statements so it doesn't feel like such an English assignment, because these are very, very different than the essays that you write in high school. We're going to spend some time this summer. Really, we spend a lot of time just thinking about what we want to write before we actually put, I would say pen to paper, but I know that you all are going to use a keyboard of some sort. But what we're doing here is we're trying to find your authentic story, so that when you're applying and you're telling us about yourself, A, know that that's really, really hard, and B, that you're telling what you want to tell, so that when I'm reading an admissions application or a scholarship application, I can look at the GPA, I can look at the test scores if they are there, those are numbers. I can look at the activities that you've been doing. I can look at the classes you've been taking, and that gives me some information. But your statement or your essay is your chance to really tell me who you are, and that's really worth spending some time on. So again, we'll spend a lot of time on that over the summer. You can work with me. You can also work with, there's a website called the College Essay Guy. He's based out of California. There's a lot of resources to help you. And I just want to make sure that you know this is something I do want you to do over the summer. It'll take you a few months if you do it right. And then ideally, you'll be completely happy, satisfied. You'll put it away the day school starts, and you won't think about it again until you pull it out in October for your first college or scholarship application. And then lastly, I really hope that we can sit down and get a plan together. Senior year comes at you pretty quickly. Ideally, you would have your college list together, your scholarship list together, you'd have your personal statements ready, you'd have your resume together, so that as deadlines pop up, you can really quickly meet them and not break a sweat. Once you've done a couple applications, you'll have some muscle memory there. It'll become a little bit easier, but I really just want you to be as prepared as you can be. And then as far as the organizing piece, if you have 3 deadlines on October 31st and you also realize it's going to be the middle of midterms, you might want to complete some of those applications a little bit early so we can really talk some strategy that way. All right, now financial aid. This is again for the juniors, the class of 2024. Financial aid is going to be just a little bit different in the fall of 2023 than it will be in following years, and it has been in the past. So what's happening is that Congress is simplifying the FAFSA. And so the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. It's a form that about 90% of Oregon students use to apply for financial aid. And so if you're a citizen of the U.S. or an eligible non-citizen, so if you've got a green card, you're designated as you have designated asylee or refugee status, you're going to complete the FAFSA. If you're undocumented, if you've got DACA status, you'll complete the ORSA. That's usually about 10% of our students. Usually, these forms open on October 1st in the fall of your senior year. This year, though, because of the big changes that are being made, they will open at some point in December. We're not quite yet sure what day they will open. So know that if you've got older siblings, if you've got friends who are older, if you've got, interested relatives that are like, oh, it's October 15th and you haven't yet done your financial aid, it's because you cannot apply until the forms open. The forms this year will not open until December. What you can do now, as we get ready for the new look and feel and the new questions, you can figure out which parent is going to help you provide information on your financial aid application. It will be the parent who provides the most financial support to you. So that's not necessarily the parent you live with or the parent who's claimed you on their taxes, but the parents who's providing the most financial support, and then whomever that parent happens to be married to. And I've got a little acronym down at the bottom, FSAID. So a FSAID stands for Federal Student Aid Identification. It is the username and password for students who are completing a FAFSA. If you're an ORSA student, you'll have a username and a password, but we call it a username and a password. An FSAID is required of everyone who is providing information on a FAFSA. So that's always going to be the student. It will be at least one parent for the majority of our students. It might be two parents. So if your parents are married to each other, maybe your parents aren't married but they live together, we would get information for both parents. If your parents aren't together, we'll definitely get information from one of them. And then we'll get information from a step parent if that parent is married. And if you happen to be married, then we'll get information from your spouse. Obtaining an FSAID is something that you can do right now. I've got the website right here on this slide, and I'd recommend that you do that. Please do not use your high school email address. Your FSAID will stick with you all through your education, and if you borrow federal student loans, your FSAID will be the username and password that you use to log in and check on the status of those. So use your Gmail or your iCloud or your Yahoo, because if you lose access to, say, your high school email when you graduate, then it's going to be really difficult if you ever forget your password. So if you do make these today, please keep them someplace safe so that they will be ready for us when we need them in December. All right, what are we going to ask on the FAFSA and the ORSA? So in December, when you go to fill in the form that applies to you, and you'll fill in one or the other, not both, we will ask students about any income that you earned in 2022. So right now, I'm in April of 2023, and so this is the tax return that we've all just filed. And again, we'll ask about the parent that provided the most financial support for you, and whomever that parent is married to, we'll ask about their 2022 income. And then we'll ask about assets as of the day you complete your FAFSA or your ORSA. We've got a couple different categories of assets. We've got, cash, savings, and checking. So this is the money that you have in your basic bank account or credit union account and any cash you have on hand. Then we'll ask about investments in real estate. And this includes, your mutual funds, your stocks, your bonds, your 529 plans. This includes any rental homes that you have, or if you have an ADU as part of the home that you're living in. We specifically exclude retirement, either if you as a student has an Oregon Saves account already, or if your parents have retirement. Anything in a federally recognized retirement account, we don't want you to report on the FAFSA or the ORSA. And we also don't want you to report the value of the home that you're living in. So if you've got real estate other than that home, we'll ask, but never the home you're in. And then lastly, if you or your parent or parents own a business or a farm, we'll ask you what the net value of that business or farm is. And to get the net value, you're going to estimate what the value of the business or the farm is, and then you will subtract out any loans that the business or the farm has taken out or have been taken out against the value of the business or the farm. So these are pretty deceptively simple questions, but that's why I bring them up now so you can start thinking about them. All right, now it sounds like I'm not telling you a whole lot, and that is because with the big changes in the FAFSA and the ORSA, we don't know everything yet. Again, this is April of 2023. We're getting information. It's coming at a pretty rapid pace. For a while, it was, maybe we'd get a little bit of information every month. And now it feels like I'm getting new information almost every week. So we will have formal training for your high school counselors, for your college and career specialist, for your mentors, for anybody who's going to be helping you complete a FAFSA or an ORSA. We'll have that available for them in August before school starts. So right around when school starts in September, I will have a lot more information for you. But I would say especially this year, pay really careful attention to what the school is sending you in the bulletin or the announcements. Any communication from your high school about financial aid, just quickly pay attention to that. It's going to be very important because, again, things are changing pretty rapidly right now. But we will make sure that you have the information that you need. All right. I always, always, always love to have everybody get involved. But it's really important to talk as a family about your future plans. Your parent, your siblings, your grandparents, your cousins, they know you better than anyone else, and they can provide guidance on your career and your higher education choices. And I know that right now you're probably rolling your eyes. That's okay. So I'm going to give you an example. I had a student who really, really wanted to become a nurse, and she was just so passionate about it. And her mom looks at her and says, you hate the sight of blood. How are you going to become a nurse? So the daughter was completely insistent. This was her number one career goal. And after a lot of discussion and some pretty tense moments with the three of us, the daughter agreed to do the Vita-NAVA self-assessment. And what that self-assessment was done, her results showed that one of her career goals should be in the hospitality and tourism industry, which is something that she never ever considered. So once she began exploring career options in that field, she was really hooked. And so now she's in a hospitality tourism program at a state university. She's really, really happy. So she doesn't have to faint at the sight of blood. But her mom knew. So what I'm saying is that it's okay to think outside the box. Really get a chance to explore those options. And I'm also going to say it's just really important to talk to your family about paying for college. I'll have some information for you in a couple slides about steps that you can be taking. So let's just start having a nice conversation ourselves. Once we've kind of talked about career choices, then we're going to start talking about college choices. So again, this is something that you might want to involve a parent or parents or guardian or whomever, maybe an adult in your life or an older sibling who knows you well. You're going to have to make some choices about where you think you might thrive. And so if you're looking at a 2 or 4 year college, that might come down to things like size. Do they have the program that you want? The campus culture? Are you going to fit in? What's the cost like? So I think it's really, and I say this having had a couple kids go through college myself, but working in this field for a very long time, it's easier to start having these conversations right now in the fall, the spring of the junior year, where we're not up against a deadline. You're not deciding between a couple different schools or different paths. You're still exploring. So really take the time to talk through everything. And if the adults in your life don't want to talk through it with you, feel free to contact me. I love to talk about this stuff. All right. And then lastly, planning. So making sure that you have a plan. It could be that you want to be in hospitality, but you live in a place where no one ever visits. Or you're like, you know what, I love hospitality. I really, really want to work on a cruise ship and see the world. So let's kind of really start thinking about this. Let's think about what your plans are after high school. Let's look at your initial career. And I think I read somewhere that students who are in high school now will change careers, I think it's between 7 and 9 times in their lifetime, which makes parents kind of flutter a little bit about that. But let's look at what your options are. Let's look at, does it make sense for you to go to a 4-year school and incur student debt, especially if you're going to be heading into a profession or a career where maybe you're not making as much money? Or maybe you're making a lot of money, so then it makes sense for you to borrow a little bit more if you have to. So let's just really sit down with the folks in your life who know you best, and let's really just think through some of these things. All right, so now I've got 2 checklists for you. One of them is the junior year checklist, and you can go to this website, ecmc.org/opportunities, and you can download the junior year checklist. It's available in English and Spanish. And it's just got things that hopefully you might have gotten completed during your junior year. So you can see we've got, preparing for AP or IB exams. We've got things to do over the summer, looking for colleges, college planning. If you haven't completed everything on this list, you are not behind. We have plenty of time to catch you up. But while you're there, I really want you to take a peek at the senior year checklist. It's a little bit longer. There's a lot more that happens in the senior year when it comes to deciding what you're going to do with your life after high school. You can see here that there's a checkbox to register to take or retake college entrance exams. And it might be that you've never met an exam you couldn't ace. Go ahead and sign up. If you are a student that is like, I just sweat thinking about taking a test, they never go well, I am here to tell you that you don't have to take college entrance exams if you don't want to. If you're good at them, by all means take them. If tests are not your thing, don't stress yourself out. We will figure out a path for you without having to take these tests. All right, and then lastly, if you have found this recording through YouTube or online and you have no idea who I am, again, my name is Jen Satellino. I'm with the College Place, Oregon. If you are a student, you can go ahead and using this QR code, you can fill in a quick registration form. That puts you into my communication system. You can then text me. I can text you back, and I will collect some information about you so that I can help keep you on track, send you scholarship and perhaps program or college information. We can make sure that you are where you need to be. If you're not a student, if you're a parent or a guardian, if you are somebody who works with high school students, if you're just a really interested auntie or uncle or neighbor or mentor, you can also get in touch with me. The easiest way to do that is at my email, which is jsatellino@ecmc.org. I serve the entire state of Oregon, although I am located in the Portland area. Portland Community College donates office space to me, but I, again, serve students across our great state. So if you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will get back to you just as soon as I can. But know that I am here to be a resource to all of our students, regardless of age. So if you're a parent and you've sat through this whole workshop and you're thinking of going to college yourself, I'm here to help you as well. So with that, have a wonderful evening. I hope to hear from some of you. Please, any question you have, don't hesitate to call, don't hesitate to email. Please ask the question. If it's on your mind, it's probably on somebody else's mind as well. So I would really appreciate hearing from you. Thank you.